leverage AI. I use it more for formulaic things. So if we're doing a case study that's challenge solutions results, I'll pull in my notes from customer conversations and have it do the first draft, and then I'll edit it from there. Same thing with press releases. I hate writing press releases because I think they're boring. So I'll just take the notes from the conversation and be like, here's 3 of our past press releases. Here's the information for this one. Can you write it? And then I'm usually updating and doing the quotes. But for actual content, I have said before, I think I'm just a little too particular and controlling. If I have a vision, I just want to write it. I don't want AI to write it.
For me, it continues to amplify our team's skills and creativity. So it's certainly not there to replace them. The human touch is crucial, certainly within our industry where our prospects and customers, they're also subject matter experts. So it is crucial that we remain authentic. Despite that, we do use AI to increase efficiency and effectiveness across multiple areas. And that has only increased over the last 12 months. So one area would be content creation. It does help us generate long form drafts, even short form headlines for our writers then to take and improve. We produce high volumes of content. But one of the things that we need to continue to focus on is that in a sea of content out there, that we continue to add real value. So produce content that is difficult to find elsewhere, that really helps someone in their day-to-day job. So the content optimization, we use tools. It may be SEO related tools. It allows us to enhance, improve, and refine copy. We also leverage it for audience insights. So our platforms that we use, it could be our lead management platform or our CRM. The AI capabilities within those tools help us really analyze some of that data much quicker than we have done in the past, especially around segmentation. So it allows us to identify some of the segments that are working for us at the moment. It also helps us with predictions as well, I've found. It also helps us with what I call lookalike audience identification and targeting. So certainly over the last 12 months, it's become easier and more efficient to achieve or to complete some of those exercises than it might have done in the past.
The companies that are going to do well are the ones that have an original brand voice, that have their own tone, that cut through all of that. I know a lot of people in marketing get worried about the automation, about the AI. As a writer, like, could I be outsourced to an AI tool? I don't think so. I think that anything at first, people might lean really heavily into doing that. But I think over time, what they're going to see is the results are not there. And they're going to wonder why the results aren't out there. I used ChatGPT to create 50 articles this month, and we're not getting any more traffic. Well, because the articles aren't very good. They may be factually correct. There might not be anything quote unquote wrong with them, but they're not going to have that personality. And I think that Google's getting smarter. It's going to pick up on that. Google's going to know what is AI generated and what's not. It's going to want to show you the human generated content over the AI. So I think there are guardrails, but it could be really helpful as like an assistant for sure.
Up until a year ago, maybe, AI was super intimidating. In content, we had a lot of questions that were things like, can you just up the output with AI? And we were seeing the outputs. I think it was felt that it was as easy as saying, GPT, write me X article, and we could publish it. And we were seeing nothing was cited. It was hallucinating. There were a lot of reasons why we couldn't trust what was coming out. And was it going to help our workflows? It might even slow us down in terms of we knew what we needed to accomplish. I think it's gotten better. We've been seeing new models in the last year. We've 4.0. We've been seeing different tools. Claude is one of them. We're seeing content production tools that aren't just about writing. You're getting Dolly integrated in, and you're getting video. There's lots of options. So the best use can start out as simple as, with good briefing skills, the same that you would brief a freelancer, the same that you would brief an agency, you can use AI to help you develop something, a thought further than you would have, quicker than you would have, test your thoughts, test your assumptions.
Obviously, transformative tool. I think marketers are really just getting started on this. I would say even me personally and my team, we're probably just scratching the surface in terms of what it can truly be used for. I would say it ranges across the team. I can give you 2 examples of how I use it. One is around just content ideation, just getting started, writer's block. How do I get this going? giving some basic prompts, iterating from there. And that just gets the ball off the ground, as we'd say, and figuring out where are some further areas that as the humans, the marketers, would then want to iterate and tease out. The other that I find it's a little bit less, I'd say, on the content side, but more on the data analytics side that's been helpful is we, as a mortgage company, collect lots of customer feedback, reviews, surveys. It's great to get the quantitative scores and numbers, NPS, et cetera, and see how we're doing over time and track that. But there's so much qualitative feedback that we get from survey responses and just call it customer feedback in general. So we've really started to use AI as well to say, here's a range of customer feedback responses. Summarize it as what are some trends? How does it compare to this channel? And what are some of the themes that are emerging from this? Give me an example, a customer piece of feedback that might match this theme. And again, it doesn't replace then the action and the further analysis that we would need to do on our end, but at least gets it started and is able to consume large amounts of data and qualitative data, which is obviously really hard to parse through. And so again, using that as a way to get at customer insights a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently. So I'd say those are two areas. There's so much more that I think we could be doing as we learn, both on the content generation side and the data analytics side. But at the end of the day, as marketers, our role still is to think about the customer, think about what they're looking for, really know them. That really cannot be replaced by AI. So bringing that customer empathy, the customer insights, the business strategy, all the things that I would say you as the marketer really need to know and represent and advocate for on behalf of your customers are super important.
I think it will give true creative and innovative teams who want to be authentic and original a leg up on teams that are relying too heavily on LLMs to produce content for them. It will help them stand out better and be more effective and more powerful. I say that also you can leverage it to do a lot of the redundant things. I don't remember the last time I wrote an email to an external person outside of my company in which I needed to say the right thing, that I didn't feed it as long as it didn't have non-proprietary stuff in it or anything sensitive. Say, hey, clean this up and make sure it's professional for me. I can't tell you last time I didn't do that. It's so helpful in that. And sometimes I don't want it to make me sound too smart either. I don't need it using words I don't use daily, but it's so helpful in that fashion. Or brainstorming new concepts. I'm looking to do something, a campaign like this. What are some creative ideas? And I'll ask for 10. There's a couple in there that are probably really good. I'm like, okay, I didn't think of that. And the rest of them are cookie cutter. Okay, I knew that,
For us in content, we use primarily Grammarly and any form of Gen AI, whether I'm using GPT or whether I'm using Claude. It may be different depending on the task, but me and my team, we use it every single day, multiple times a day for all the reasons that we talked about, which is how do we pull an idea out that we can work with? And I'm sure all your audience has seen this. You get this lengthy page worth of great information, but there's really only a line or two that hopefully sparks you to say, oh, I can do that. Because most of the rest of it is not really understanding who we are. I mean, it's impressive and I love it, but it doesn't really understand to the level that we need it to understand, like someone who works here would understand. But it does give you that, in the best scenario, that one line or that one phrase where you're like, oh, I could do something with that.
The bigger AI providers starting to get an understanding of what each of them does best. So for instance, if your company has access to all of those and approval to use any AI tool, it's worthwhile to just test, to just play around with the different ones and understand their strengths. Full credit to my coworker at Teal. She was really deep into AI, and we're trying to figure out how can we be even faster about the ways that we produce case studies and the way that we produce these SEO blogs. So that was B2C. So quantity was really important to us and speed was very important. And so in that process, something that was a recurring theme was ChatGPT was better at analyzing data and categorizing. So started that journey here of exploring AI, and then at Teal, finding when to use which program. And so something like Claude we found was actually a little bit more accurate with the transcript, whereas ChatGPT would sometimes just make up quotes. So that's something you very much do not want in a transcript. If you're going to have a lot of oversight, this goes back to when do you outsource? Understanding that Claude was better about more accurate summaries, basically, and transcripts. So using the different platforms to their strengths after finding out what those strengths are.
We're still pretty early on in the experimentation stage of AI adoption for content marketing. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. I think it can be used to make some more of the routine parts of content creation more efficient. The latest advancements that we've seen in generative AI over the past years have been major leaps forward, but I'm still not fully convinced that those tools on their own can do what I see as one of the most critical functions of content marketing, which is delivering really insightful perspectives to business leaders about how they have to think differently about opportunities in their industry. We throw around the term thought leadership. I think it's a bit of an overused term and maybe a little bit commoditized, but my take on it is real thought leadership has to put a stake in the ground. It has to contain an idea that's worth fighting for and worth arguing and communicating really well to win over adherence to your brand's way of thinking. And so right now, I'm not convinced that AI can bring us those insights on its own, at least not without the strong involvement of actual subject matter experts and industry practitioners. But it does have some really practical uses. We did a pilot with a tool called Writer AI. I was really impressed. Its ability to do things like blog article outlines, summaries, and recaps of recordings. It's really good at synthesizing information and picking out themes and summarizing. And I also love the ability of how you can interact with the AI via that chat-based co-pilot. It's kind of like talking to a junior content marketer or an intern. So the same thing applies. You need to be very prescriptive about what outcome you're looking for. But as long as you can give it a very clear input and define the task, it can be a powerful tool for turning raw material into more polished content.
So the two main ones that I would use on a daily basis are Otter AI and ChatGPT. Otter AI for transcription. If ever I'm on a meeting or interviewing someone, it is just so great at writing up that whole interview for you. The updates in it are even better, that it gives you meeting notes and meeting actions all automatically now. So it's a dream for any of the more interview-based stuff that I'm working on. And then ChatGPT. I will be very, very clear. There's things that I do not use it for. And one of them is any kind of content writing. I don't use it to write long-form content, to write anything creative. I think when you work in content marketing, following the proliferation of everyone getting access to ChatGPT, it is so obvious within the space of 10 seconds to see if someone's used ChatGPT, and I will just I'll scroll past it. And I wish everyone could take a course in how to use ChatGPT properly, because when you start seeing LinkedIn just full of all of these posts, it just gets very, very boring and you're just scrolling really quickly. So I never use it for anything creative.
It's easier than ever to create content and put it out there using these tools. And I think the B2B companies and everyone in general, the ones who can use that and then also take it up a notch and add something new to the conversation to delight their customers or to inform their customers, educate them. There's going to be clear winners and losers on that front. I look at AI as consensus content, and there's a lot of that out there. And even before, like SEO, we've gone down that path a little bit as well, where you find a keyword and you write a piece of content to the best of your ability based on online research. And guess what? That's exactly what AI does. And all that content, AI is winning with AI overviews and everything else. We're seeing it already. And over the next 5 years, the companies that win are going to be doing less of that and more of the storytelling, more of the adding value to their customers.
From the demand generation standpoint, what we're trying to do is have all of our content plans be research-based. So what we'll do is work with our product marketing team, and they'll run research on either a hot topic or a specific industry and try and understand who the audience is. And then from there, we'll start working with our creative and content team to start understanding what's the story that we should be telling. So I feel like AI has been most helpful in just getting that first draft started and helping to start formulating a storyline, being able to input, okay, we're dealing with X, Y, and Z pain points with this specific audience, and these are the different types of titles or roles that we're targeting. how do we create a cohesive storyline so it starts pulling all of those little data points together? And then we can use it to say, okay, yeah, actually, the way that it's spelling out the storyline, this doesn't make a ton of sense. Or yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. Now let's look at our content library or the creative assets that we have already to understand what content types would resonate really well with this audience, or how do we need to tweak the storyline to make it more impactful for who we're trying to reach. So I see it more as the refining process of being able to take multiple data points, bring them all together, and find the commonalities for how we want to start storytelling to this audience.